so that if anyone does want to see what was presented or has any additional questions or wants to go back on the content, we can have that available as well on the county town websites. So the Victoria District Economic Development Strategy, and today we're talking about the municipally controlled corporation, which is one component of the strategy. It's a way that we are actually attempting to execute the strategy, and we're looking for public feedback on the municipally controlled corporation. So just a reminder to those of you who maybe haven't heard or haven't participated prior, we are set up based on the Victoria District Economic Development Strategy, and that aligns with 3 values that we created back at the beginning of the strategy. We believe in the preservation and promotion of our cultures, our heritage, and our ecological assets. We want to enhance the experiences of our visitors by sharing our assets in an authentic way. And we want to maintain our community identity and lifestyle while sharing those assets. So as we go through, and of course, concerns have been raised about, what are we actually creating? That last one about maintaining who we are is extremely important to the working group and will be put forward and be extremely important to the boards of the 2 corporations that we intend to set up. So a bit of history. Jordan mentioned we've been at this for a few years. So in 2018, Smoky Lake County had a 3-year strategic plan that they issued, and one of their priorities was to create economic diversification through tourism. In 2019, a project was initiated to follow that action, and a consultant was engaged, which is Vision XS out of the UK. We did research and economic modeling. We did a great deal of community engagement. And then the joint town and county council agreed to collaborate on the strategy. So that was the first step in the partnership. Metis Nation came on board as well in late 2019. And in 2020, we established a working group. And this working group has been working on the different funding models that are available, the corporate structures, and created a business plan for the actual execution of the strategy. And today, in 2021, we are looking to establish the corporations that will then execute the strategy. Throughout the process, public engagement has been ongoing at open houses, public hearings, council meetings, and small cohort or individual sessions. So we certainly appreciate all of the engagement the public has brought forward. We've had a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls and a lot of really good conversations that have informed the strategy and the business plan and made us all the better for it. So I'm not sure right now if M&A would like to provide any comments. You did mention your excitement about the strategy, but if there's anything you'd like to add, now would be the time. No? And any of our municipal representatives that are on the call, if you have anything that you would like to add. So I think we have several. Feel free to unmute and make any comments on the strategy that you would like. And hearing none. So the purpose of today's, Clarence, did you want to say something?
Yeah, okay. Now you probably read some of my comments thus far. And so in the midst of a pandemic, okay, may or may not be that the sites may be open even to rent out. So at this point, you guys are putting the town and the county on the hook for 1.2 million combined?
That is correct. There's a $600,000 each proposed to come from the county and the town.
So your actual, I don't know, like you guys said, you're putting 10,000 each. Well, what does the 10,000 get you?
Oh, nothing. So Clarence, yeah, if you could just hold on for a second, because there are some on the call that haven't seen all the details. So we'll get through the details on the breakdown of the 600,000 and how it is proposed to be put forward. And then absolutely, we'll get back to some of those questions as we go.
You know, I was just, because I got work to do, okay? So my comment is thus far, to sum it up, are you guys willing to put your jobs on the line for this project that you guys are undertaking for the last 3 years? If it doesn't work? I mean, if I went to my employer and I said, I need 1.2 million to, I got a whim. And in in uncertain economic times, and he would say, well, okay, so I'll tell you what, I'll give you 20,000, and if you blow it, you're out the door. And you guys are taking 1.2 million, and combined population of the town and the county is probably what, 4,000 people?
At just under 5,000 for the town and the county.
Yeah, so that's a lot of coin coming out of my pocket. That, why would I want to go to a local place where you can't even access a lake? And what would you do there at this site? Tell me what I would do there.
Well, the strategy certainly does speak to a number of different assets that will be developed. We do have a great deal of assets.
I want specifics. I don't want general. That's all you guys been talking about, a general assumption of everything. What could I do there that, let's say I want to spend a weekend there? What am I going to do? Throw horseshoes all weekend?
Phil, perhaps Juanita has an answer to the question here.
Hi, Clarence. I think maybe we missed our introduction, but myself, I'm the executive director at Metis Crossing, and the gentleman that says Carla Garcia, what is actually Art Cunningham, is one of the directors from Metis Crossing. And your concerns are valid, and we question that and we ask those comments on a very regular basis. Metis Crossing, Metis Nation has invested at this point $20 million in the site of Metis Crossing, and that investment has been in the form of infrastructure, has been in the form of paying people. We have this summer, there will be 15 people on site. Some of them are local people. We have 4 people from the Smoky Lake region now employed on a full-time basis out at Metis Crossing. We have experience development. What people do there is we have a paddle into the past experience where we take people paddling. We have a Tales of the Trapline experience where we take them out in snowshoes to do traditional activities. This coming winter, we will have a full slate every winter or every weekend of different traditional workshops that people can come and do at Metis Crossing. We are bringing in a new chef so that there will be culinary events out there. This strategy is meant to grow the tourism in the community, which will mean people are coming to spend not 3 hours in the region, but to spend 3 days of activity-filled opportunities. I just got notice that the CEO of Travel Alberta, the province's marketing organization, is coming to spend 2 days with us in the coming months because the travel industry sees such opportunity in what the Smoky Lake region is creating and building, that this is meant to be a destination where people will come and not go to Disneyland. This is a place where they will come and learn about Métis history, about Ukrainian history. We have a great bakery. Everyone who comes to Metis Crossing wants to stop at the Smoky Lake Bakery. And those that don't stop there go to Betsy's because they want a milkshake on the way out of town. This is a huge economic opportunity for this community.
Oh, okay. So the bakery and let's say Betsy's and the yacht tank of gas, that's so we're going to recover our 600 grand pretty quick.
You will.
I don't buy that. But anyway, who funds the Métis Association? The government, correct?
We have numerous funding agencies. So Metis Crossing is not the Métis Nation. So we have numerous partners, whether it is Synovus, TransCanada, Pembina Pipeline, the government of Alberta, the government of Canada. Certainly we finance some of it, like any business would, through the different banking partners that we have. So there are numerous funding opportunities. So
far you put 20 million into it, right? And so this 600 grand that you want from this 1.2 million actually is just for tourist I guess you're trying to get tourists to come there. If the infrastructure is there already, why do you? It's like why do you have to spend 1.2 million on tourist marketing?
No, Clarence. So just to clarify, so there are 3 partners involved in the overall project.
I know that. I know
Right.
that.
So the Métis Crossing is also putting in 600,000 into the strategy.
Yeah, but that's all
And
tax
the
money to
strategy,
begin with.
and the strategy, yes, it comes from a number of sources, as Juanita pointed out. The projects, the strategy is to develop tourism assets beyond what we have today. So we have a good backbone, and we would like to see an increase in what we actually have to offer people. So you did ask, what would I do if I went to the lake? What would I be able to do? As we execute the strategy, you'd be able to go to a natural aquarium. You'd be able to go to the forest nursery and learn about tree genetics and how they're doing their reforestation projects. You'd be able to go along the Iron Horse Trail and learn a lot more about the rail history and about the history in our communities. Those projects are going to be developed, and the money that is coming in from the town, the county, and the Métis Nation of Alberta is going to support the start of the projects and what's going to do. We also envision, and we are getting a great deal of interest from other investors that are interested in investing in our community to support the development of those projects, because they do see a return on the investment as well.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, I got to get back to work. So I can't see this flying, but I guess I wouldn't have any say in the matter anyway. So I voiced my concerns and opinions, and I guess I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay.
And Clarence, I do appreciate that you have spoken up and given us your opinion. And your question to me about would I stake my job on it? I absolutely am staking my job on this.
Okay, so just keep this video and we'll see in 5
Yep.
years if you, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Any other questions while we've got the floor open? Anybody want to comment or? Okay, we will carry on. So the purpose of today's discussion, we're seeking this community's input on the creation of a joint partnership between the county and the town in a municipally controlled corporation, which is a critical component of the Victoria District Economic Development Strategy. Now, you just heard me mention that the Métis Nation, or an entity of the Métis Nation, is also a partner. They're at a different level of the corporate structures, and we will show that. So when we talk about this part, this is strictly between the town and the county. It's a municipally controlled corporation, which is a Municipal Governance Act corporation that is set up under the rules and regulations of the province of Alberta. And as we mentioned, we're interested in hearing in all from the community about all aspects of the strategy at this point. So what is a municipally controlled corporation? It's a for-profit corporation that's established to provide services and benefits to the residents of the municipality, where a municipality holds the majority control of appointing directors. It's regulated by the Municipal Government Act, which is the word I couldn't remember 2 seconds ago, and a separate legal entity which can pursue its goals from a perspective not always available to a municipality, including profit considerations. So the Municipal Government Act requires that the profits of a municipally controlled corporation are either reinvested in the municipally controlled corporation or used to benefit the residents of the municipality which controls it. In this case, we're talking about the town and the county controlling it together. So where does it fit in the overall strategy? For the Victoria District Economic Development Strategy execution, the purpose of the MCC is to provide a corporate platform for the town and the county to be able to put money into the local tourism economy and provide a legal and financial buffer from operational financial liabilities. The MCC ensures economic diversification in the region through lending to the limited corporation, which we'll get to in a minute. However, it's not intended to be a profit-making entity. It is intended to get a return on its investment But it is really there to benefit the residents and benefit the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation in executing the strategy. So the shareholdings, and Clarence mentioned this, $10,001 shares for the town of Smoky Lake and $10,001 shares for the Smoky Lake County. And the MCC, it's important to note, under the Municipal Government Act, must be a minority shareholder in the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation. And that's why we've set up the shareholding the way we have. So those $10,001 shares are to purchase shares in the municipally controlled corporation. The board will be 2 members from the town and the county, and they will elect a chair from those board members. And the funding then will be a $590,000 loan from the town of Smoky Lake and a $590,000 loan from Smoky Lake County. Those loan terms and conditions will be determined in the next phase. So at this point, I don't have the information that would say when the loan gets paid back, how long the term of the loan will be. Those will be conditions that will be worked through as we set up the MCC and start to execute on its activities. There'll be some operational income, which would be service charges from the limited corporation, and they will have additional accountabilities, such as being a channel for sourcing municipal grants, loans, and investments. We don't anticipate full-time officers or staff, and there would only be a part-time administration function required. So very low operational cost in the MCC. So for those of you who can't see the picture, the way I am describing it is the town of Smoky Lake and Smoky Lake County each purchase 50% of the municipally controlled corporation. The municipally controlled corporation, the Metis Nation of Alberta, and other third-party investors then form the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation, which is a limited corporation. The municipally controlled corporation will hold less than 50% of total shares, with M&A, Métis Nation of Alberta, and other investors holding greater than 50% in the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation. And that was the note that I made earlier, that the MCC cannot have more than 50% of the shares in the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation. Of interest to those on the call and to many others, I'm sure, there will be board opportunities on the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation that will come from the community and from the wider region and province. There's also an opportunity to be part of what we call the Community Advisory Committee. So this committee will be supporting corporate community investment and advising on the tourism project suitability. This is where we get the ability for the community to support the board in the delivery of the tourism projects, that those tourism projects continue to maintain Smoky Lake as Smoky Lake. So what's our strategy in a nutshell? Overall, we would have investments that would include loans and preferential shareholdings in tourism assets, corporate operations, so there would be the execution of the board-approved strategic plan, acquisitions of accommodation and attraction assets, either solely or with additional partners, and infrastructure funding. So those things that are needed for tourism developments like roads and trails and signage and amenities, those are part of the strategy's deliverables. Third-party investment is required to achieve the results forecasted for the strategy, and the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation, because it is not municipally controlled, is able to attract such investment. So frequently asked questions: how is the municipality's money used to create the partner projects? Via loaning money into the limited corporation, who along with raising other monies through equity, debt, and grants, will invest in those partner projects. For example, the limited corporation may partner with a local person to set up a new bed and breakfast. A separate joint venture corporation is set up and the local person provides their funding, for example, $300,000, and there is a loan, equity, or a combination of both. How will the municipalities be repaid their $600,000 investment? $10,000 each is invested in the shares of the Tourism Corporation, which will pay dividends on the shares when the profits allow, and $590,000 each is lent to the Tourism Corporation through the MCC. Loan agreement terms are to be defined in the next phase, as mentioned, and at a rate that ensures the limited corporation is viable. As noted, the MCC is not a profit center to make money from the Tourism Corporation. It is a conduit to support the Tourism Corporation in its execution of the strategic plan. So what are the risks to the investment and the loans? If the limited corporation ceased to trade, then the municipally controlled corporation and thus the town and county would be on the creditors list, along with the Metis Nation of Alberta and any other investors. The money is at risk, but the risks are small, as the limited corporation will raise much more money to ensure it can be profitable. In addition, any assets that the corporation owns would be available to fund repayments to creditors if it was required. So for example, if the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation owned a small hotel or several bed and breakfasts, they would have those assets in their portfolio and those would be available back to the creditors if there was a need to do so, which we do not believe is going to happen. How do we ensure transparency on the flow of money and the municipality's ability to know the status of the investment regularly? And I would say, and the public's, by setting up the governance such that legally the limited corporation has to provide the MCC and shareholders with trading and cost figures regularly and at a minimum at the annual shareholders meeting. This can then be fed back to councils and the public accordingly. How can the municipal councils and the Metis Nation of Alberta influence the assets the corporation chooses to develop or partner in? The Smoky Lake Tourism Company Board or Corporation Board members appointed by the Metis Nation of Alberta and the Municipally Controlled Corporation, with guidance from the Advisory Committee, will use a project assessment process for all proposed developments. Developments deemed unsuitable to our region's heritage, natural and cultural tourism foundation would not meet the project assessment process requirements and would not move forward. So generally, the board and the advisory committee will act as the main filter and modifier of the corporation's plans. Each year, the corporation's management team will present their plans for the year ahead, and a long-term 3+ year plan. The board will adopt, reject, or amend the plans based on those project assessment processes. Now, voting rights within those decisions are determined by the class of shares that each entity holds. The Métis Nation of Alberta and the Municipally Controlled Corporation will have higher voting rights than other share classes. Who from the municipality, elected or administration, will be on the board of the limited corporation? The municipalities will recommend board members with the skills and commitment to the corporation's vision. The selection may include those at the political level and senior administration, or be a recommendation from the wider public to ensure the best board members are recommended. Who else will be on the board? The Métis Nation of Alberta, as a founding member, will have a board seat as well as the board seat that the MCC holds. 4 or 5 board members will be recruited based on their experience developing tourism product, marketing, infrastructure, as well as developing and capitalizing on investor relations. Do the municipalities have control of the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation's board? No, they do not, and neither does the Municipally Controlled Corporation. They have voting rights that are determined by the class of shares. And again, with Métis Nation of Alberta and the Municipally Controlled Corporation shareholders having higher voting rights than other share classes. However, remember, the Municipal Government Act requires the MCC must be a minority shareholder in the limited corporation. In our next phase, the Tourism Corporation's articles will define the voting process and procedures to ensure decisions are made in the best interest of the Tourism Corporation by the board members. And as a side, and to keep in mind, actual developments will continue to be required to meet planning and development rules and regulations set out by the town, the county, or the villages through their land use bylaws and municipal development plans. So tourism projects will not be circumventing any of our existing rules and regulations around developments in our community. So what will the $600,000 be used for? As mentioned, $10,000 each from the town and the county will be used to purchase shares in the Municipally Controlled Corporation and in the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation. The board and the Tourism Corporation's management team will decide what the funds are to be used for based on the strategy. Annual budgets must be prepared for the board's approval based on the objectives of that strategy. And ideally, the bulk of the money will develop and market regional tourism products. Some operational costs may need to be funded initially from these loans. However, grants would be sought by municipalities and flowing through the MCC to cover as much of the operational costs as possible. In the long term, operational costs will be funded from booking fees, investment returns, and other income. Our next slide is a list of our contact information, and we will make sure that everyone has that available to them. And we would now like to open it to discussion, questions, comments, concerns that you have on what we have presented about the municipally controlled corporation today.
Not everyone all at once here.
We're kind of putting folks on the spot, so I see the mayor has his hand up.
Yeah, well, just I want to thank Michelle for that overview again. I just got back from a fire call, but I caught the tail end of it, and I caught the other portion at the previous meeting. So I appreciate the work and effort you guys are putting into bringing a new economic driver to our community. So Juanita, I don't know, can I come there for a coffee yet on the balcony or not? Because I'm getting the itch for.
Not yet. Our new chef is starting June 21st. So after that, you can come.
All righty. Well, I can't wait.
June 26th is the date we plan to open to the public on a regular basis.
Okay, that's
June
great.
26th.
All righty. Thanks.
Kyle, did you have any questions that you wanted to add?
Michelle, I will point out and mention that the session is being recorded, and we only missed about a minute or two from the beginning. So this will be posted to YouTube along with the previous recording. And so I think some of the questions that were already asked are encapsulated there and captured in this meeting as well. I'll also mention that this is the third of 3 open houses, and the next opportunity for folks to continue to comment on this will be at the actual public hearing, which is scheduled for next week. So stay tuned to social media or visit the Town and County website for that information also. And so we had a bit of a philosophical discussion about why tourism, why now at our last open house. And I really appreciated you at that time bringing us back onto topic a little bit about not just why tourism, but how tourism. And so you talked a little bit about how this proposal is not a gift to anybody. It's not throwaway money. It is to actually develop new assets. And so we hear, I think, in the community sometimes, and others can maybe speak to this also, that there's nothing to do. This is addressing that. This is bringing additional bodies into town and county businesses, spending dollars, staying overnight, all these different things. I would assume that at some point we want a swimming pool in this community. That doesn't happen without work. And so there's a lot of work going on here. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about perhaps how this proposal differs from some other communities, because I think it is a little bit unique, and perhaps you could comment on that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. So, based on my, and it's anecdotal for the most part, but in conversations with other communities, what I hear is that the municipal level or the economic development or the tourism officers are all busy working on promotion of existing assets. The difference in this strategy is that the corporation will be building assets and enhancing assets and expanding assets that we already have. That's a very different take on, rather than relying on private industry to simply think there's an opportunity and attempt to pursue it. The Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation is there to support the private investor. If you have a dream to have a beekeeping or sleep on beehives operation type thing, you can go to the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation and talk to them about your business development, your business plans, your financing, your funding. The Tourism Corporation is expected to be very, very well connected with people who want to invest money in those assets and in that development. At the same time, as we keep repeating, this is all about keeping Smoky Lake the way we like it. So the reason why we believe we can invite people here is because of who we are right now. And we often say, if this project is not working for the residents, it is not working. And we will stay true to that. We do not want to see this be Disneyland, and there's nothing wrong with Disneyland, but that is not the intent that we have for our community. We want to see that what we have is enhanced and give the opportunity to others to enjoy what we see every day in our communities and what we have the advantage of every day, and to help our businesses grow and actually aspire to some of the things they'd like to do, that they're a bit stuck right now. And I would suggest that coming through COVID as we are, this will help people be a bit more excited about their future, because there isn't a lot to be excited about after the last 18 months for most of our businesses. So that's where I would sit with that position. Is this is truly asset development, and of course that takes capital investment, that takes cash to actually do those projects. And it's not just to invite others to use those assets that we develop, but to make those assets available to our own local people, and encourage them to stay and their kids to stay in the community.
That's a really helpful answer, Michelle. I appreciate that. With hesitation, Hank got in there. The mayor raised his hand before you, Jordan. So we'll go to you next. And
He did, and even if he didn't, I would defer to the mayor anyway. So
Jordan, you go ahead. I'll go after you.
are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to sort of expand on the question about, why tourism and why now as well, because Clarence had brought that up, and it's I think it's a very fair question. It seems like this is the worst time possible to be doing this, but I disagree for a couple of reasons. Number one, certainly we embarked on this before COVID began, especially with what's happening down Metis Crossing. This has been a plan that's been in the works for over a decade, I would suggest. And even the town and the county, when we got involved with the strategy, this has been something that predates COVID breaking out. And then the other thing is that unfortunately for some people, this pandemic has wiped out their businesses, and a lot of those tourism operators probably won't be coming back. Whereas with the continued investment that's being made by the Metis Nation and by the town and the county now, we're actually going to be poised to sort of take advantage of when tourism starts coming back after the pandemic. We're there. We've got the assets there already, and people are going to be looking to do things more locally, I think, at first as well. There's still restrictions in terms of international travel into Canada. So right now the focus is on sort of attracting those more local visitors, people from around the province, maybe other areas of the country, and then expanding that over to the international visitors. So I think that's a great opportunity for here and now, even though maybe logically speaking, it doesn't make sense. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks for that, Jordan. Mr. Mayor.
Easy on the mister, but I think that Smoky Lake and region has a solid background and a long history of providing, tourist destination venues, like years ago, the Orienteering, a world-class event was held in this region. The Smoky Lake Stampede would have been going on to its 49th year. That is a lot of years of rodeo. When you look at even the Americans, I just watched one the other day, 44 years, that's a big deal. We would have been on the 49th with the interruption. The Pumpkin Fest, but also the Kickapoo Rodeo. They run a top-notch operation that's provided employment and great camping opportunities for people at Whitefish Lake. And the Buffalo Lake Stampede, that's unique in itself. You won't get the atmosphere anywhere else, probably, unless you go to some of those rodeos. Goodfish, Kickapoo, Goodfish, another good example. It's been going for over 50 years. And so I think the Metis Crossing and the hotel is really going to augment or supplement, and provide another destination point that'll allow us to do things more on a year-round basis. But I want to say, as a mayor, that tourism is extremely, extremely important to our businesses. And I just want to use an example. Our definition of a tourist may be a little narrower, but the other day, for example, several people, not one, several people I knew, they happened to come out to Smoky Lake for their vaccine shots. And so when they're coming out, what do you think they're doing? They're stopping at Servants. They're down at the bakery. They're stopping for a bite to eat, and they're gassing up when they're leaving town. That is what our business community needs. It needs customers year-round, day-to-day, flowing through those doors so they can maintain and improve and expand their businesses. We've got some very unique businesses here, and they're making every effort to survive this COVID. But building on the tourism strategy, the other thing, just yesterday, in one day, I met two people, one at the Esso, who was out camping, had a very unique Volkswagen bus, which, Kyle, you would have really appreciated. But these are tourists, and they're loving it here, and they're spending money here. And the other couple gentlemen I met yesterday at the bar, because I hang out at the bar. Yeah, you betcha. And outdoors at the patio, two gentlemen, they were out fishing at Hammer Lake. Didn't catch a thing, but they caught a couple cold Labatt's Blues at the bar, and they were looking for a place to go for a bite to eat. So without that traffic, our businesses are empty. We need tourism because the local traffic is not enough to sustain what we have for infrastructure and investment right now. So this is a huge, huge positive move for our community. The Niikanen House, like I said in past meetings, a huge investment. It's already paid for itself more than once. That is a welcome addition to the neighborhood. The people love it there. That place has never been looked after like it is now. Landscaping, trimming, pruning, upgrades, renovations. That is a real asset to our community, and it brings youth to our community, and we need youth in our community. So there's a lot of positives coming as a result of the work that's been undertaken by all the partners in the Metis Nation of Alberta. Huge, huge investment in our region, and we're proud to have them here. And we're looking forward to celebrating Indigenous Days with them. So some way or shape or form anyhow. So that's my little.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate that. I'll go to Mr. Kodlak, Councillor Kodlak, in a second. After Mr. Kodlak is complete, I've got a question actually for Art, Mr. Cunningham, Juanita, and Michelle to do with repayment and what if things go wrong. But first, we'll go to Mr. Kodlak, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Kyle. I had this idea years back. We brought it up close to a decade ago regarding the untapped resources of the North Saskatchewan River and expanding the Victoria district and dealing with promotions in there. During that time, Metis Crossing came full circle. They got their funding. Everything is moving forward on that. That's a done deal. And we have to grow, become partners and assist with them. But a few of the questions I have regarding the Development Corp is, this would probably be a little bit better towards Michelle on the structure and clarity on dealing with the investment that the town is asked in regarding to investment in future businesses, and that when you have other mediums such as community futures that can access this. And I would like to know further down the road, maybe it's not fully developed regarding the borrowing criteria, the investment, because this is one whole picture that we have to concentrate on regarding not duplicating services. So, and also coming back to the return on the investment, because at the beginning, the buy-in was that you would get your return back in 3 years, then move to 5. Now I read in the paper, it could be 20 years or 25 years, which the CEO has mentioned to me from the town. And it's just, I believe that we have to invest in this, but I do have question regarding the funding formula of the investment. Is that type of capital that you need to have put in, or do you can use a smaller amount? These dollars were earmarked. I'm not sure how the business formula is going to be, if the corporation is going to be able to borrow money against their investment. There's lots of unknowns, or maybe items that are not fully explained. So it brings question. And if there is question, people have doubt. So that's why people are being skeptical on what's happening. It's all about supplying the proper information and accurate information. And with any business plan, how I've been doing things in my life is you have to alter your business plan as you go. Because I seem to be doing okay in what I do. So anyways, that's just a comment. Maybe Michelle can help me out with some of the questions regarding the borrowing end of it, and why is the company going to be borrowing when there is other mediums and criterias to meet with community futures, which have quite a bit of money to borrow out.
Okay, so there's a couple things that I heard. One is certainty. How can we provide certainty at this point in the plan? And we can't provide certainty. Neither could any business plan provide certainty. It can provide guidance. And as you say, as the plan is working, you do the things that are working. And when things are not working, then you stop doing the things that are not working. So the certainty around the actual execution of the strategy, will we guarantee that the money will be back in the town and the county's pocket within 3, 5, 10 years? The numbers don't give us that certainty on the timing, right? We can project, which is what the business plan actually does. It projects based on if these things happen, if these activities happen, the money will be returned, the loans will be repaid within that. I think we're at 5.5 years now is the latest model. Of course, the model has been changing because of the COVID situation. So initially we thought we were rolling this out in a very robust and active tourism market. We're actually rolling it out in a recovering market. So that's going to take us a bit longer. As to the question on the Community Futures piece, Community Futures is an excellent project funder. So for those individual projects, I fully expect that the Smoky Lake Tourism Corporation resources, the people that have the knowledge of who lends on what, will be supporting the private project developers with getting that funding, backstopping some of that funding, using some of the corporation's dollars to provide some sort of security against the loan if it's required. I think those are the opportunities at that level where Community Futures would say, I'm meeting with an individual who owns a business who's going to start an ice cream truck, and we're actually going to fund them the $30,000 that they need to do their ice cream truck, because they have a business plan, they have their forecast, they have all of those pieces which the Smoky Lake Tourism Corp resources can help them put together, as well as other entities around the community. Business Link, Western Diversification, Business Development Corp, Export Canada. You know, there's tons of people that we are looking to, those staff members in the management team, to be very, very well connected with, because the less money the corporation has to take out of its own pocket to use, if it can find money somewhere else to get these projects off the ground, that would be the direction I would expect the board to set for them, is to look for those opportunities. So the return on investment is one that I think is challenging at this point.
Michelle,
Sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Juanita, did you have a point to bring up right there?
I did actually, and I just want to build on what Michelle said, that in relationship to the Community Futures or WD, Western Economic Diversification, I think if the Smoky Lake Tourism Company keeps those entities abreast of what we're doing and the overall strategy, that will support any application that an individual entrepreneur or project puts forward to them, because they want to see something that is a part of something bigger. So if they can, if Community Futures or WD is looking at an application, if it has the backing of this business plan and of this entity, it will be seen in a much more positive light than an individual entrepreneur just out on his own, his or her own. So I think that there's a beautiful collaborative opportunity between those funders and the Smoky Lake Tourism Company.
Yeah, absolutely. That we're actually seeing it in the reverse right now, where we have developers coming into the community, and when we share with them the strategy, they're actually more keen to choose us over another community to do their development or do their investment with. So the fact that we can send them a document that says, here's our strategy that we are, you know, a couple months away optimistically from starting implementation on, is a huge differentiator for us in the tourism development arena. So I think the other piece, and what I heard, Dan, in your question was really, why would the town and the county be required to use their money to do it? And I would say at this point in time, it would be very challenging for the Smoky Lake Tourism Corp to go out and sell itself in the market. That being said, we thought that was the case, but we're hearing things again from Western Diversification, from Travel Alberta, from Alberta Jobs Innovation, Jobs Economy and Innovation Ministry, saying we're very, very keen to be part of what you're putting together in Smoky Lake. So where do you, like, what level do you want us at? Where do you want us at? The project level? Do you want us at the corporate level? As well, we have submitted to Invest Alberta, who takes projects like these worldwide looking for investors. We've submitted the Smoky Lake Tourism Corp to the Invest Alberta group. So they'll be taking that ability to buy shares in the tourism corporation out to the marketplace. What that does in terms of the return to the town and the county through the MCC will be for the board to be discussing, what's my best business strategy right now? If I have a 20-year loan, and again, I don't know what the terms of the loan will be, those are going to have to be structured with the board members and with the MCC. But for example, if we said that $600,000 or $590,000 is being lent over 20 years at 3% or whatever, and they have an opportunity to invest and get more on their money by using the money to do that versus pay extra back to the town and the county, then they would be saying, well, it makes more sense from a business perspective. But the MCC will be on that board and will be looking to ensure, as an MCC representative, their role as a board member is to ensure that the MCC is acting for the benefit of the residents. Right. So they'll be bringing that perspective, and others at the board table will bring other perspectives about the decisions that are made every day or every month at the board level about, we are at a fork in the road. Do we spend more on this? Do we accelerate our loan payments? What should we do? What's the best business plan? Just like paying back your credit card automatically or earns you 14 to 25% if you pay off your credit card versus putting the money in a savings account. Those are the forks in the road that board is going to have to look at. What's the best use of our money right now for today and for our long-term sustainability and the long-term sustainability of our project investments?
Thank you for those answers, Michelle. Hopefully that's a little bit of information. Mr. Mayor, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I did. You know, I just want to say that years ago, Eddie Basaraba, Bascor Developments, he put in two major developments at Bonnie Lake, and we need more of that. And so the reason being is that if you look at the Vilnas and the Wasetnas and that, the population has significantly declined. Without an alternative group of people that are going to live, work, recreate, and spend time, even if they're snowbirds, if they spend the summers here and go to Arizona for the winter, that's 6 months extra. We have extra bodies in our community. The other thing I want to say is that just the last couple of days, we have met with some serious investors that are looking at the region. They've actually made some acquisitions in this region because we have a large capacity that's still underutilized, whether down, like Dan said, the North Saskatchewan River. If you go to places like Denver and that, those places have homes all along that river, beautiful landscapes, all the other stuff, access to the water. So there's a lot of capacity that's untapped yet. And the other thing I want to say is that if we're not willing to invest in our future, then why would some other investor come to our community and put a penny in? If we don't see a future here and we're not willing to put money into that, and it's a small amount, the $600,000 doesn't buy you a house in Edmonton. Having said that, the investment alone for Niikanen House, in my mind, already has paid for itself because it kept our local contractors working. It kept that money circulating in our local economy, and it kept some of these businesses afloat. So in my mind, direct investment, we get it back in different ways. And already Niikanen House has proven beyond a doubt that working collaboratively and cooperatively, we rescued or repurposed a building that was solid as a rock, would have sat abandoned with pigeons flying through it. It's a tremendous asset to the community. That alone, in my mind, more than paid for the investment we're making. And the other thing I want to mention is, what if we didn't have a $26 or $28 million investment on the banks of the North Saskatchewan River? Wow, where would we be? Let's embrace that and move forward, because all levels of government see a future in that facility. There's a lot of history there, a lot of past, and we have a lot to celebrate. So moving forward, if we're not willing to invest, I don't see a lineup of guys. But right now we're seeing very strong interest in people that have money, are willing to spend it here, and they see a future. And so I'm very grateful that we're moving ahead in this project. So hopefully that answers some of Dan's concerns and some of the people that are the naysayers out there. That money already has been reinvested in our community, and it's paying dividends, and it'll continue to do that for 20 to 25 years.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I see hands up from Juanita and Mr. Kodalak. I just thought before we go to either one of you, I'll add, context is important, isn't it? And so I think what we're looking at when we're talking about a number like 600,000, we're to put it into context, we're talking about perhaps a grader would be a good example, a single grader. So, in the context of what it is and what it's doing, I think it's important to be mindful of its, not betting the entire farm, right? If at the end of the day, the town or the county was to lose that money and it was to just disappear, and that's not at all how corporate structure is set up. It's built in such a way that doesn't happen. But if that money was to evaporate, that's not going to, be the existential end of the municipalities. However, what the opportunity it presents is the opportunity to grow. And so I think that's what we're looking at here. And we're not looking at betting the farm. We're looking at purchasing a grader. And that's the scale at which we're contemplating things here. So maybe if you'll allow me, I'll go to Juanita first and then over to Mr. Kodalak.
Thanks. And I actually want to echo Hank's comments. I have done years of fund development work now and in looking for investment in Métis Crossing. And inevitably, when I go in front of any board, whether it's Cenovus Energy or TC Pipelines, and I met Art when I stood in front of TC Energy and asked them for money. And one of the first questions that I'm always asked is, whose skin is in the game? What are you putting up? Why would I want to invest there? And when I inform them that the original $600,000 to purchase the land on which Métis Crossing now sits was donated by Métis citizens, Métis entrepreneurs who had a vision to support this, that changes the conversation. That is why they will support it, because we have our own skin in the game. And I think Hank's comment there is critical. Without the Smoky Lake investment, why would anyone else do it?
Thanks for that, Juanita. It's interesting to have that background and perspective on fund development as well. Mr. Kodalak, did you have something to throw into the mix?
Yeah, I don't want it to be painted that I'm against this thing, what Mr. Mayor says, like he mentioned naysayers. I'm just looking at the business plan itself and the answers. I'm trying to mitigate things and trying to answer questions that other people have been asking me about it. So without the information, how am I supposed to answer the questions? But like I said, I've been a promoter of the North Saskatchewan River. I grew up along it. I own land right along the Victoria Trail. And like I said, this goes back yet during Mr. Prochku's days when he was a CEO, and he has investment in properties along the river. When we were trying to promote this through the RCDC, when it first came, the name change came. We tried to push the issue there, but it all comes back to the money. At the end of the day, it's all about the funding formula, because nothing happens without capital investment, unfortunately. So I'm just asking questions. And another indicator, when you're talking about lake lots and everything, if you pull up the town's websites and you see the hits of where people are, what's their interest, it's all about Hanmer Lake and all these other places. People want recreation. So I believe that we can grow from this. And maybe the investment with the county, putting in boat launches, that would be a great asset too. It's just, but it also comes back to the investment. And don't take it the wrong way, but who's paying? Because it's not everybody that's pays.
Appreciate that, Mr. Kodlak. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off either, but I believe you were done there. So I appreciate those questions. And that's why we're going through this exercise of listening and having these open houses and this dialogue, right? So that's really helpful. And I was really trying not to bring up the Heritage River project because that's one of the things I've been working on. But certainly the promotion of the North Saskatchewan is something that continues to be something that we can do better at and grow on. And so that brings us into conversation with the likes of, again, Travel Alberta and Explore Edmonton and Indigenous Tourism Alberta and all these different groups, Fort Edmonton, where we're going to get some of these folks in the same room collaborating that haven't been collaborating very well to date. And that's not to say that those groups specifically haven't been collaborating well to date, because I think they've been doing wonderful work. But there's a huge appetite and a huge interest out there. Michelle, I saw you raised your hand.
Yeah, just another comment. None of the comments that we have received are we considering as someone being against the project, right? We have got so many great ideas by people asking questions about the strategy, about the plan, about the execution, about the structures, about everything. That honestly, we could not have put this together without the input of the community that we've received. And that's from all different perspectives, whether it's a heritage perspective or an ecological or a resident concerned about what the noise might be or what their front road might look like. This has been a very, I would say, we could take this on the road as an example of how our community actually engaged on this project. And that's good to see, because I think that's the only way that this will be a successful strategy, is if our community is actually for it. And every time they have someone with a map in their hand or a phone out and a confused look on their face, that they're willing to be Smoky Lakers and actually offer their assistance. That's what will be the success of this project, is having our community be open and welcoming, as they've been for thousands of years, right? That this is what we've been all about. So, and again, I don't want to beat up, we should do it, we should do it, we should do it. That we will do tourism in this community. And this is one way to do it. And we're proposing that this is a way that actually uses the appropriate level of funding from the right parties to get the skin in the game, to get people working together, that has the folks that will be on the board that will be collaborating and connecting to other entities. This is a huge ecosystem of tourism development. That's one way of doing it. We could also put $7,500 in our RCDC budget like we do, and tell me to go to the Boat and Sportsman Show and do some brochures. Right? We could do that way too. So this is just what we're offering the community, is this is a way to do it. And this is a very different way of doing it. And we're glad that people are asking lots of questions, because that shows interest and involvement and engagement. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I actually believe that it's important that we get this right for our residents. And so we are continuing to be open to conversations and comments and concerns and questions. And no one will be told, if they are concerned about the project, that they are somehow not part of what we're doing here. Everybody's got a part in what we're doing here.
Thanks for that, Michelle. And I really appreciate how you brought up the point that we wouldn't have gotten this far without robust dialogue with the community, and we won't be successful going forward unless that continues. Mr. Kodlak.
Well, we can grow on this huge. We can make miles. When you talk about even regarding Fort Edmonton, well, actually, Fort Edmonton was a little bit east of Victoria Trail. I mean, Victoria Settlement. But, you know, fur trade, everybody has marketing. People had to move distances. That we got so much history behind here, and we can build so much on this. Like I said, it's an untapped resource. I'm a bit of a historian that people a lot of times don't know. I worked on history books for Wasetna area, Myrtle Creek area, the Radway district. I've been part of these things. So it's one of my interests. So I just have a passion for certain things. And I grew up along the Victoria Trail, and underneath Wasetna Bridge, every Friday night, all of us buddies got together, pulled $2 together, bought a case of beer, went fishing all Friday evening. It was great. I had the best childhood growing up and being a teenager along the North Saskatchewan River. So I'm just saying, but like I said, there's questions. Everybody has to, and not having an answer is not an answer.
That's fair enough, Mr. Kodlak. And I think the first time I met you some years ago now, you showed me a really old, in fact, perhaps even pre-Confederation coin, which is, and you were just carrying it around with you. So that's how I knew at that time that you were interested in history and including local history. So I appreciate those comments. I noticed Jordan raised his hand, and I want to be mindful of everybody's time as well. We're well past the hour now, and we'll try to begin to work to bring things to conclusion until we pick it up again at the public hearing. But Jordan, did you have something you wanted to throw in there?
Thanks, Kyle. And I think Mr. Kodlak was around when that coin was minted, probably. That's how he got his hands on it. So, but he makes a really good point. And I just wanted to touch on a couple of the other initiatives that the county and the town have been focused on over the last year or so, I guess. Specifically, the designation of the North Saskatchewan River as a Canadian Heritage River. We're also looking into Dark Skies Preserve for some locations within the county. And so there's all of these complementary pieces that the two municipalities are working on in order to support not only what's happening down in Metis Crossing, but the broader strategy as a whole as well, right? So it's not just about the money that's being invested into the corporation, it's building out the foundation that's going to support the corporation and support those other attractions that we hope to develop, because there's already going to be things in place here that are going to attract people. And I think it's just a great opportunity. We know people are going to be coming out to Metis Crossing. They already were last year, even throughout a pandemic. And when those people are here, they're going to want to do other things as well, right? And that's the whole point of this strategy is working collaboratively together so that everyone gets ahead. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Jordan. That's very helpful. And this kind of launches us into maybe a final round of comments. So I'll go to Juanita because she's got her hand up.
Thanks. I actually just want to commend the town and the county on this initiative, because working forward on things like the Heritage River designation, working forward on things like the dark sky preserves, working forward on things like trail development and lake development allows this community to control tourism and choose the type of tourists they want to come to this area. So if we just let tourism develop willy-nilly, wherever people see an opportunity to make money, you'll see a different outcome. What we're doing right now by engaging these different programs and working together allows us to drive what Smoky Lake tourism will look like in 10 years, 50 years, 100 years from now. Alberta, their focus right now, they want to double tourism revenues by 2030. That's billions of dollars. That's not going to happen in Jasper and Banff. That's going to happen in places like Smoky Lake County. And in my last conversation with them is we're not looking at attracting millions of more people. We just want the people that are coming to spend millions of more dollars. And those millions of more dollars are going to get spent on opportunities like what we're creating, those dark sky watching in dark sky pods that you can't get anywhere else in this province. And those are the kinds of experiences that people will pay a lot of money for. So to maintain the character of this community, to enhance the lifestyle, this strategy is a really important tool to get there, because it allows us to direct what that looks like.
That's very helpful, Juanita, and certainly I think this is a team building opportunity, and we're not going to get to that doubling of tourism revenue by 2030 without new collaborations. And I'd like to think, and I genuinely do think that the sort of model that Michelle has been working on here and that has brought together, two different municipalities which have a history of partnering, but now then also partnering with the Metis Nation and others that are going to come to the table as a result of this snowball effect is really unique. And I think there's going to be a lot of people talking about the Smoky Lake region in the years to come. I'm not entirely sure where I'll go next. Perhaps Mr. Cunningham, did you have anything or any closing comments you wanted to add from the conversation so far here?
Well, we always take the strong lead from Juanita, and you guys know why we take the strong lead from Juanita. So
that's right.
I have to stand behind her words for sure. She creates a lot of excitement among the leadership of the board and ourselves, and by creating a lot of excitement throughout the province. I mean, really, Métis Crossing is seen by Métis people throughout the province, and every day more they take ownership of it. So you're getting a population of over 110,000 people throughout the province will have an ownership concept in your county, in your town, and I hear lots of talk from the folks down here down south that's where they're going for camping. That's where they're going to go to explore Métis Crossing. Therefore, they explore Métis County and the town of Smoky Lake. So we're excited about the partnership and continue to thank you for the partnership that we've created with the county and the town.
We're lucky to have you. I think that's the simplest that I can say it. So thank you for being here, and I mean literally right here in this room, and then also more generally as our partnership continues. Michelle, over to you.
I think Juanita wrapped it up for us. So thank you, Juanita.
Fair enough. I'll comment again one last time. This has been recorded. It's going to be up on YouTube by the end of the day. And certainly everybody is very much invited to submit any questions in writing that we didn't get to today. Find our information on the town and county's websites, or as well attend that public hearing. I see Mr. Hollowaychuk has his hand up, and then we'll adjourn. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thanks again, guys. I just want to say that, regarding investment, the payback, I see it every day. I talked to Mike's from Colette from the bed and breakfast. He has regular people staying at his bed and breakfast. The reason they're here is because of the Metis Crossing and that world-class facility. And they're taking up accommodation in town. They're spending money in town. The other thing I want to say is every day, no matter where I go, bumper to bumper or the restaurant or whatever, the tradespeople that are working at the Metis Crossing Hotel, we see them every day in town, spending money, building our economy, contributing to our economy. It's those kind of things that give our business community some hope that, you know, moving forward as things progress, that won't be the only thing going on. The new school build is going to start coming on stream. So we're going to build on all the successes and positives that we have in this region and move it forward, because we really are something that is worth people's time coming out here. And we've shown that in the past, whether it's a Stampede, the Pumpkin Fest, you know, the Victoria Settlement or whatever. We have the river. We have a lot of stuff here. So let's just continue to build on that momentum. And investors are seeing what's happening here, and they're coming to the table. So thank you guys very much. And I'm going to the hotel for a quesadilla. That's the special of the day. So
Enjoy that, Mr. Mayor. And thank you once again, everybody, for being here. Take care of yourselves, be safe, travel well, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.